welcome to all other esteemed guests that are listening to this interesting panel. There is a possibility of picking one out of 5. If you picked one and this is the digital entrepreneurship, then you are in the right panel. Having these really nice guests for sure is going to be interesting. Maybe some female are not in the panel, but this time maybe not. Next time for sure it will be. But to begin with, maybe as we had a nice introduction from both ministers, and in this current government, probably a lot of these digital transformation efforts are going on. I'm really looking forward to what is going to happen also in the future. In the meantime, just a couple of minutes ago, there was a document that came in as the second big chunk of additional things that are going on in the digital strategic council, actually 25 different measures, and also in the public sector there are 6 of them, quite interesting, and probably they will echo for sure around Slovenia in the next couple of days and weeks. But for sure we have to play together, so private sector as well as public, together we stand. So in this case, probably please have this in mind also with your answers. To begin with, as the first question, and I would say for all 3 of you, what do you think, according to your area or your thinking, was this actual influence of COVID-19 that we actually were living in the last 2 years? Was there something that actually were enabling the breakthrough ideas, or is this just the digitalization of business as such? So maybe just the speeding up of the whole process. I've seen a lot of different things, and for sure the acceleration was there. But from your point of view, was there any critical?
General, but an important questions. I would like to hear the opinion of all our guests about this topic.
A company valuation from less than a billion to 4.4 billion in like 10 months. So this actually helped us a lot. This was a pretty crazy growth. But on the other hand, for when we help projects from Slovenia to get on Kickstarter and to launch their projects there, what we saw there is that all of a sudden, Croatian projects reached out, and like Serbian projects reached out because we moved the and they've seen it and they started inquiring as well. So in that perspective, it opened up the borders basically. So nobody had to drive anywhere. It was, way easier to get access to information. So from that perspective, this really helped us a lot, and also helped out the crowdfunding community, not only in Slovenia, but in this part of the world, because they could just join with, through a link. They didn't need to drive anywhere.
Super. Thank you, Tilen. That's definitely a lot of positive sides, maybe some negative drawbacks, but we'll discuss that later also. Nenad, I will name you by names. Hopefully it's okay for you. We are in the digital world, right? It's still, we are with names, not with the zeros and ones, right? So far so good. So Nenad, from your side, what's your feedback on that?
Absolutely, we need to stay humane in any stage of digitalization. So regarding COVID-19, definitely it was a big change. The main breakthrough, actually, if you use that expression, was that many people realized that some changes are possible that before they thought are not possible. I think this is the key breakthrough of what happened during the COVID regarding the digitalization, because I would say in Slovenia, we are, as a society, we are somehow reluctant to change. So COVID showed us that change is possible, and the change can be positive. So it's not only the threat, it can be positive. It was interesting also for Slovenia. We have done a panel last year in July together with Google and Connected Commerce Council, they made an assessment within EU about how usage of digital tools increased during the COVID. So this was the first part of the COVID. So it was interesting that Slovenia was #1 of all European countries increasing the usage of digital tools within that period. That especially concerns small and medium businesses, of course, and that digitalization provided a safety net for those businesses to actually continue the business that they otherwise it would be really a threat how to continue it. So I believe that now many businesses and their leaders understand the role of digitalization, not just as something that is necessary because everybody speaks about it, not just because it increases the productivity and competitiveness, but also because it provides resilience in such situations, in crisis situations. And that's one of the important part of that, let's say, breakthrough as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Nenad. I mean, I like your point of view, especially that the crisis can be actually an opportunity, not really a threat, and it's just the way how we look on it. As you are representing as a chamber of commerce, right, the biggest chunk of Slovenian business, of course, maybe your thought on that. But for sure, Slovenia as a small, we are a big nation, but with small population, I would say. So you don't need to be big to actually be successful nowadays in the digital world. So from that perspective, I believe you support the idea of actually expanding our possibilities also abroad. And as we know, Slovenia does not have unicorns as some small countries have. So we believe in the future that there will be possibility beside, I don't know, Bitstamp and Outfit 7 and so on to have some more unicorns in Slovenia, right?
Yes, well, we really support that. We would like to see more unicorns also coming from Slovenia, because in digital world there are no borders, as we can say. So the world is flat, so it's easier to become, let's say, so it's easier that the world becomes your market in a way. And the size of the country doesn't matter here actually. But what as a country we can explore is, as was discussed before, as we are small, we can be flexible, we can be lean, we can be fast. And this can be an advantage over some big countries. For example, we do some things as we work a lot on e-health as well. On e-health, comparing to bigger countries, we are a country that can show the integration of all the system on a country level. In many bigger countries, they cannot do that because they are regionalized, and they do that on a regional level. We can do it on a country level, as there are many initiatives now in Europe how to provide the interoperability, not just within the countries, but also within the whole Europe. This, for example, can be advantage for us.
Okay, all right, I really like that. So for sure, as you said, so that the size of the country does not matter in this respect. But Jan, for sure, the size of the jumps do matter, even in digital world. Now let's spill the beans, and we are all our ears to hear your story on this particular question, of course.
Okay, yeah. So I believe COVID-19 was a major disruptor on basically all of the fields of our lives, and it was a great accelerator in terms of digitalization. And if I look, especially in our company, you know, we at the start of the pandemic, we just suddenly lost all our business, and we had like for about 7 months we had nothing to do. So we had to figure out what can we do in this new normal. So we were already before the pandemic started. We were doing some digital videos, especially videos for different large brands internationally. And we said, okay, we know how to do video production. What can we do? How can we sell that video production in digital world, especially in Slovenia, where we didn't have a lot of business before. And yeah, we had kind of luck that we started our own TikTok profile 1 year before the pandemic began. So we had like a really good foothold in terms of TikTok in Slovenia. We had very strong profile, and that was something that we knew how to do for our brand, and we started doing it for other brands. But of course, the idea was great, and the background we had was also good, but it was really a challenge, to form new team, or to teach the existing team members how to behave in digital world, and how to make good digital products. And we are still learning and trying, and changing processes of work. If I compare what we did 1.5 years ago and how we do it now, there is like a major difference. And yeah, the COVID really pushed us to start to develop digital products. And now, as the situation is with COVID and with traveling abroad is changing, we are really more prepared, to offer analog and digital products. And that was really, if COVID didn't happen, we probably wouldn't be here where we are now.
Yeah, great, Jan. So it was really a good push as far as I hear from your answer, and for sure, and I will continue with you. So Slovenians are really known for being one of the best sportsmen in the world, right? And okay, you are in this area. If the ski flying was originating from Slovenia, and we'll see now this not only digital but also in analog world next weekend, it's definitely a question, of course, for you about your jumps. And here you brought up the very good, I would say, and logical content on the digital transformation about generations. As you said, if it would not happen, if this would not be the case, and for some of your members of the team, it was a challenge. I believe you don't have old people in your team, but you don't need to be old to be an old thinker. So in this respect, it's actually in all of us. And one of my professors said it's not about the digitalization, it's about digital transformation, because the bottom line could be that 5% of the total digital transformation is digitalization as a software and everything, but everything else happens in the head of the people. So about on that area, and I will start with you, Jan. So do you think that there will always be this sort of a digital gap between generations, industrial revolutions? But the problem now is that they are happening more frequently and quicker. So that's one of the challenges.
Exactly, I couldn't agree more. In our company, I am one of the oldest members. So we have like the majority of the team is under 23 years old. So we could say they are definitely Gen Z, and they should be, or they are digital nomads. But this really doesn't mean anything as far as my experiences go, in terms of being prepared, to really do the digital transformation and to use digital tools and processes as they should be used. So in order to make it easier for you to work. So we have a lot of work has to be put into these young people, really understanding why and how to use different tools. So I'd say that the gap will always be there. It's on us and the government and everybody, to make this transformation as easy as possible, and to try and communicate how it should be done differently to different age groups or generations. I think in terms of communicating everything and understanding what digital transformation actually means and how complex it is. And it's not just that you know how to use a lot of apps on mobile phone, and even if you are born with a smartphone, as far as my co-workers were actually, I expected it would give them a much more edge and ability to quickly adapt and adjust to digital world, but I wouldn't say this is the case. So actually, in the future, I believe that gaps are always going to be there, because like you said, the digitalization is moving so much faster than other revolutions we were going through, that I think that we need to put a lot of work for this gap not to widen. But yeah, it's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge, and I think it's gonna stay.
Okay, thank you, Jan. Nenad, what's your point of view? I mean, in the old days, it was set some seniority system. You have to be like 25 to 40 when you have to work hard, and then when you are 40 plus, then maybe you will get the management position. But this is not the case anymore. So, how to actually now tackle this? So, digital gap between generations from your side, yes or no?
Yes, I believe this will somehow stay. This digital divide between generations will be there also in the future. But what we need to do as a society to really try to decrease the gap, because we need to include all ages of people to be part of the digital world, because some of the things, some of the services will not be available anymore in any other format. And it will bring higher value of life also to any age of people. But of course, as we somehow have, there are some properties of mental performance that we have in different ages. Also because of that, some of the gaps, some gap will still stay. In Slovenia, for example, a statistic shows that in the older we are, the bigger is the gap also to the average in the European Union. Mm-hmm. So we need to at least close that gap if we talk about Slovenia. But generally, we need to work a lot to close that gap as much as possible. And I hope this digital bond that is coming out from the government will help close that gap as well.
So you see it as a positive thing, huh? So to actually, whatever possible measures are taken to close that gap, or let's say minor it's welcome, right?
Absolutely, because even if I focus on the economy itself, we work, let's say, until 65. So there are a lot of generations working in different companies, in different positions. Mm-hmm. And these positions are changing. We are not aware enough how these positions are changing. What work profiles are coming, and we don't really prepare for that in the economy as we see it. We are not aware of that. So even if one part of let's say increasing the competencies, digital competencies, is in companies, but the other part is in general population. So an important share of population, almost half of it, is working class. So it influences the economy as well. So it's very important to go wide in this respect.
Okay. Thank you, Nenad. In the meantime, we got some more guests, which is good. So it's becoming more and more interesting. Tilen, the same question for you. I don't know, how do you feel? You are one of the oldest guys there in Austria, or how it's going these days?
Yeah. So it's similar to what Jan said. It's maybe not that big of a difference, but still the founders are, I think, barely 35 or 34, and they run a company of 800 people. So it's, generally it's very young, but regarding the digital gap and like understanding, I feel this like personally, because it took me about 2 months to explain to my parents what Bitpanda actually does, and how that actually plays out, and what's my job there and all that. So I understand it completely, and it's the pace at which the space is moving is incredible. So even for myself, and I consider myself like I'm involved in this industry, like digital and blockchain and all of that. It's so fast that if you don't look at the news for 2 months, it's hard to follow. But maybe this is an extreme example. I don't think this relates to the general public, but mostly for people who are interested in this industry. So regarding the digitalization or like the general public for like Slovenia, I definitely agree. We need to work actively to close the gap. I think Corona like forced us to accept online meetings, that maybe not every meeting needs to be in person, that there are other tools as well to use. And I think this is, although there were definitely humongous bad sides to Corona and COVID and everything, this is one of the positives, I think, which forced us to take the next step in digitalization.
Okay, thank you, Tilen. Very good to hear that from your side. So that was a bit of warming up, I would say. Now we go a bit harder. So that's now the questions that probably the majority of our guests today in this panel are thinking about, and also what we see in the last couple of days also on some television that we have some documentaries and so far. So yeah, we are going to talk not only on the blockchain, but for sure crypto, digital currencies and NFTs, so non-fungible tokens. Why I put this abroad, on the table? Because we are talking about digital entrepreneurship, and for sure this is something which is definitely very hot nowadays. At the end of the day, yes, I'm coming from Šenčur and Kranj, so the city municipality or the city of Kranj officially has the first monument of Bitcoin in the world since 2018. It's a bit of, I would say, a bit of tourism also on that, because some people would like to see it, and for sure it's a good thing maybe to put it into the NFT, and this is exactly what our mayor is doing it. And I'm helping the management to actually to overcome the challenges that Kranj had in the past, as being, I don't know, the Silicon Valley of ex-Yugoslavia, but for sure a city of 60,000 people can be very, very quick in some of the solutions, and this is also why we are going into the digital platform and digital currencies and so on. But from your point of view, so digital currencies, NFTs, crypto, is this from your side also passing fad as a buzzword? Is it something that it's worth thinking on that, especially for the size of Slovenia and for the IT businesses that are in Slovenia? At one point of time before the COVID crisis, I know that there was more than 300 IT specialized people in Slovenia that were living in Slovenia, but they were foreigners. And Slovenia here had a really good possibility to really make a big leap and being one of the fastest in the area. Or is this something that will fade away and something else will happen? Tilen, I would start with you, because you are, as you said, working in a company that is very successful on that. We had Mr. Merlak and Mr. Kodric from our area, one of the wealthiest persons here around. And as you said, you had a bit of a challenge to explain to your parents what you are doing actually. And this is something that a lot of us who are working on this area are having still some challenges, but it's also the possibility to be in the advantage, of course, on that.
Yeah. Personally, I got the first time I heard about Bitcoin or blockchain was in 2013 when I was in Canada. I did my exchange abroad there, and you know, the first thing was we were traveling in the US, just backpacking, and we were in a hostel, and a weird guy with the long beard and the long hair, and he looked like he's pretty much homeless. He said that he has this thing called Bitcoin, and that he has so much of it that this is going to change the world and everything. We were just like, okay, just calm down. There's some crazy guy from the States. But yeah, looking back, a lot of the things he said were right. And I wonder where this guy is now, because he said he has like thousands and hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin, which at that time were worth around $60, something like that. We all know that this price went up. But later, what happened was this Bitcoin never went away. I think there's also a counter of how many times it was declared dead, and how many times it was supposed to be banned. It's above 5,000 times, but it's still around and it's still growing, and it's fueling a lot of the companies like Bitpanda, which are completely regulated, in the heart of Europe, in Vienna, not in the Cayman Islands, but in Vienna, regulated by the FMA, which is the financial government organization in Austria, compliant with all the rules. So I definitely see this industry is here to stay in some shape or form. But of course, it's important to acknowledge that with so much money being thrown at the industry, there's a lot of scam. So there's no way around it. So this is something that's just there. And here is the education, super important, so that normal people who are not in the industry 24/7 don't get scammed. So there needs to be a basic understanding of, okay, So this is not going anywhere. It's here, it's available. So let's just educate everybody that this is another asset you can look into and that you don't fall for scams. So my personal opinion is, yeah, it's not going anywhere. It's just developing even more. It's being approved by numerous countries in the last year. Latest Ukraine with the unfortunate situation over there, but you know, it's been proven as a good way of distributing value in uncertain times. But yeah, this is a debate. You know, we could talk about this for a month.
No, for a long thing.
Yeah.
Good for your feedback on the Ukrainians, as I say, some refugees that had to leave everything behind. But if you had some things in crypto, it's still there. It's with you wherever you go there, right? Maybe
exactly.
just a sub question before I go to Nenad. But what do you think the public sector now, it could be governmental, top level or mid level, should do on this area? I mean, is it status quo, do nothing, or some advantages? Because for sure, some especially on the taxation area, things should be clear and keep it simple. I mean, the majority of the economists really agree on that. But then, of course, it depends which country will be quicker than the other. Your view on that, if any?
Yeah, I think the countries and the governments should acknowledge it because it's not this thing. It's not looking that this is going to go away anytime soon. So might as well take the advantage, try to really understand it, and then integrate it somehow. Either approve it as another asset, so you have shares and stocks and all of that stuff, and then you have crypto. Or find another way of working with it. But I think acknowledgement is like the first step. Really make an effort to understand it and talk to people from the industry. And if the country that's really going to own it is going to have a really good advantage towards others. For example, Estonia is a good example. They did a lot of regulatory changes. So a lot of the companies who deal with crypto have a license there. They have headquarters there, and yeah, it's regulation is important, taxation is important. So I think both of those things should happen. But the pure nature of it is that the regulations should adapt to the technology, because the technology right now cannot be regulated in the same way that stocks can be regulated. So that's why the understanding is super important.
Absolutely. Not take it as a threat, but as an opportunity. Again, we
exactly.
come to the catch-22. So the same question for you, Nenad, also with the sub-question on what the governments can do. And of course, since you are representing or representative of a very important organization in Slovenia, probably some steps were already done there. Maybe if you spill some beans on that, it would be great. But in the meantime, I'm happy to hear, so to see that when we mentioned cryptocurrencies, new participants come on. So we are doing well. Nenad, please.
Thank you, Tomaž. Actually, we are talking here about the blockchain as a concept, as an alternative to the concepts we knew before to actually support or to store transactions that have been supported before, well, still are by governments or government institutions or banks in a way. So cryptocurrency is one of the applications of that, and there are many applications that are being developed that will support different processes also in the industry, like in logistics and so on. And I believe that there is future for it definitely, and that this alternative that provides the alternative actually provokes changes and innovation, like Estonia, as mentioned. And in that respect, it's actually an opportunity for institutions, for the government to take part in that. But on the other hand, we are talking also about regulation of that. So on one hand, it's alternative. That is not government supported or backed up, but on the other hand, it steps into the economy and needs to be regulated somehow. But we believe it will provide an alternative to many to the ways that we did transactions and store transactions before. And I believe we will have somehow to solve, I don't know how to say, to ease it in a way, because now this mining, the transactions take a lot of energy consumption, and this is a minus for now. But I believe this will somehow solve in the near future, I hope. Regarding the NFTs, this is another application of a blockchain, which I don't really see as a future for it, but that's probably my view, because I'm, let's say, older generation, so I have difficulties to let's say see it in the real world. But on the other hand, I see it as a good way how to support, for example, art and culture. So in this respect, I see it as a useful new alternative way for many people how to support culture.
Okay, thank you for that. Well, NFTs are here for sure, not only in the world, but also in Slovenia. There was a record holder of what, $70 million for the first 5,000 days of art. We thought, okay, that's it, and this is probably going to be one of a kind. And then till the end of the year, it was Pak actually with the merge who beat it with what, $92 million with the 3 spheres, right? So good job, guys. Although the guys from France still say, Mona Lisa is worth 2.5 billion, so they are still far away, but it's coming. To jump on you, Jan, literally to jump on you, NFTs are there already for Planica. I'm coming to Planica for one way or another, but the Ski Association of Slovenia issued the NFTs for our ski jumpers, being probably with less sponsor money around. The new ways are possible and it's there, so hopefully they will be very successful on that too. What's your on that? So of course, again, the same NFTs, digital currencies, and crypto. And what are your views on that, specifically, of course, in your business also?
Yeah, sure. So I agree. NFTs are definitely gonna stay, and all of the crypto and digital currencies, they are here to stay. And if you speak to younger generations, they are using it, buying it, trading it with it much more than they're using cash. So I think they have took it as their own way, and I think they're definitely going to stay. But we'll see in what applications they're going to be used in the future. As you mentioned, the Slovenian Ski Jumper Association put out NFTs. We are actually developing our own NFTs for the Dunking Devils team. We will definitely going to use NFTs as a form of a special ticket for our live event, which we are preparing in Slovenia in September. So this is already in motion, and we are developing a way how we can drop NFTs based directly on Dunking Devils form. And the major challenge we have is which usage or what extra stuff we could add to the NFTs of the Dunking Devils. What will the user or the holder of the NFTs get? And why this is such a major challenge is for us, because there are so many different possibilities. We actually don't know where to begin, because we have like 4 plans and all of them look really great. And all of them look like, oh yeah, this could be used, this will be used. But yeah, we don't know for now in which way we are going to go with them, but we are definitely gonna hop or jump on the train, NFT train in Slovenia. And I think what is really important not to forget about NFTs is their use in the digital world. We don't, a lot of times when I speak to people, they say, yeah, but how are you going to use NFTs in the real world? I don't have to use them, because the digital world and digital universes or metaverses, or how you want to say them, they are booming, and they have their use in there right now. And the industry of these digital ecosystems is so huge, and it's expanding all of the time. So I think very, very soon we're gonna be using NFTs in a lot of areas where we maybe don't even understand right now where they're going to come in use, or any other use, maybe not directly NFT, any other use of the blockchain technology, because I think there's going to be a lot of different applications in this year or maybe even next year.
Exactly. I mean, you pointed out really well. It's the matter of the upscale, and it's the future in the making. The logical question now would be, because then really spices up the whole conversation, how many NFTs do you own, and which cryptocurrency do you have? But still, we have the recording going on there, so we'll skip that question, right? But for sure, we are tapping into it, Joker. So it's something which is there. And you mentioned the Metaverse. I will probably then continue with that, and I will start with you, Nenad, on that. So the Metaverse is this virtual reality that is going on around, really to be something which is vital in the future. Is it just, again, a fad, according to your, I would say, experience so far? Is it possible to make it approachable for ordinary customers, for example? Because, of course, in the past, technology was still a challenge, but now with so many new, I would say, toys, right, that are around, and also with the upgrade of the development software and everything, it's more approachable. What are the potential possibilities of this wide-scale adoption of the virtual reality? And again, as Jan also pointed out, this metaverse that is going there, right? It was always there. It could be in the dream in the past. It could be in letters to somebody on the other continent, but now it's really done really on time and in full, right? So Nenad, your point on that, and then after Nenad, Tilen, and yeah.
Well, Metaverse, or let's say the way we are going in this virtual environment, it's something, it's a direction that we go, definitely, and it's a direction we will use different possibilities on a higher level in personal life and in business as well. It's also for personal life. It's absolutely possible to use that. It's also today, as you say, like toys and gaming. This is already used quite wide. But in business, it's also going on in a, let's say, relatively fast way. Virtual reality, or also augmented reality. Actually, what we are doing in business is we are trying, connected to artificial intelligence. We are trying to model different processes. Also, let's say in production, we are trying to model like digital twins, different processes in production or in service or in maintenance. To be able to understand it, to be able to simulate different situations, different inputs that can come in, and based on that, to go back to, let's say, physical, I don't know, whatever, production, and to be able to do it better in physical production, also to interconnect both of the worlds. And for example, there are already applications in Slovenia as well, for example, in the area of maintenance, where somebody can remotely help people in any part of the world, his colleagues, to make a repair of the production or of the machine, where this person on the other part of the world will wear well, everything on his head. How is it called? So well, the glasses, so the virtual glasses, and it will be augmented, virtual and real, and it will really help him do something that he generally is not trained for. But even before that, in virtual reality, training is something that training and simulation of different environments will provide faster, cheaper, easier, and also safer way of training of different activities, like, I don't know, flying with the plane, for example, which can be very dangerous in different situations, and it's of course already used. So I believe with this digitalization, we will more and more provide digital twins in different areas. Artificial intelligence concepts develop fast. The processing power, on the other hand, also, because we need that. We are running different applications on big data, so we have to be able to run it in real time. provide models, digital twins in real time, and then based on that, use that in the real physical world to actually add value to work or to our lives. So this is important in any way, so that when we go to more to this virtual world, that we stay humane in a way, that we are thinking about how we go there, because the more, so for example, in artificial intelligence, we are talking also on the level of European Union about artificial intelligence a lot, and there is being AI Act prepared to actually regulate that, because also based on Data Act as well, because we can really go over the limit of being humane. It can become dangerous for people to leave the computer actually to think or decide instead of us. So all these technologies, including this metaverse, let's say, should be there to support our decision making and to help us in that process, but not to actually replace us where these decisions can be harmful, or if they are really on a level that can be dangerous for people.
Okay, thank you, Nenad. Your view, Tilen, on that, so the metaverse and virtual reality?
I follow it, so I try to understand it. I'm not fully on board yet. I think it's a bit, I mean, it's been around for ages, like the term metaverse and some sort of virtual reality. You know, you had the game Second Life, which was quite popular for a time, and I think the whole concept exists like from the 90s even. At that point it was like science fiction, but it's been around for a while. I personally am not too excited to have all the social interactions in a metaverse. I still prefer doing stuff in person sometime. But it looks like it's also some sort of evolution is gonna happen, and it's there. A lot of big brands, a lot of big companies who basically run the digital world, like Facebook and Meta actually. They invest a lot in this space, and with billions of users they have, I think similar to NFTs, it's gonna stick around. It's gonna develop into something. Right now there's a lot of hype around it, a lot of money is being thrown at it, and I think the whole idea is let's just develop, and something will stick. But I have no clue what's gonna stick. No idea.
Thank you, Tilen. Probably it could be more interesting for some industries than the other, and in some areas or segments working on the remotely on some specific things probably, but nevertheless. What about your point of view, Jan?
Well, I'm similar to Tilen. I'm not a huge fan of digital connections or interacting with people digitally. If possible, I like to do it in person. But I see the really huge possibilities offered by Metaverse in any kind or form. We were, as a Dunking Devils group, we were, I don't know, 1 year ago, we had a meeting with someone, some company from US. With them, we were trying to develop kind of a virtual reality show around the Dunking Devils live entertainment show. And of course, there is like, make our show in virtual reality is a great digital product. So I'm still looking forward to the time when this is gonna be possible, because as far as goes for digital products, when you make one, you can implement them in many different metaverses. So I think maybe 1 year or 2 years, we are gonna definitely have one pilot version of our virtual reality show, and I see really great options in terms of bringing the pristine experience of a live show in a digital way, as much pristine as it can be. And that way, if I look broadly, not only for the Dunking Devils show, we can, you know, make some experiences possible to people who would, in analog world, wouldn't have that option to experience such an experience. And I see a lot of possible implementations in work of experience tourism and how to make tourism maybe a bit more sustainable with the use of Metaverse and visiting tourist destinations in any of the meta universes. So, but yeah, the virtual reality, I think it's even more complex to understand than understanding NFTs and cryptocurrencies. So again, a lot of communication will be needed, a lot of right ways of presenting and explaining what the meta actually is, and how, you know, to connect different generations, it's hard to connect them in analog world. Maybe it would be easier to connect them in digital world if we explain to each generation how they could be using it. But there is a lot of work ahead, I think, especially in communicating and explaining what this is to different generations.
Okay, thank you, Jan. So we have also our guests, so the participants, that you can, of course, ask questions to our three esteemed guests. For sure, it can be done at the end of this session, so in like 20-25 minutes. But if somebody has any questions so far on the areas that we covered, please feel free to ask. You can raise up your hand or whatever. But in the meantime, so when we were following this panel, Pipistrel company was sold to the Americans. So the Textron already bought it. That happened, or at least the announcement was done a couple of minutes ago. So it's just a question whether in the real money or crypto money, whatever. Another unicorn that was sold. Hopefully it was sold for good money. And looking forward to many more from Slovenia, or the other way around, that we are starting to buy some companies around the world. Any questions from the participants, please? If not, maybe prepare some for the later stage. Let's move on to the digital marketing and sales, something that is, of course, around. Some guru says it's nothing special. It's the same like it used to be, just in the other channels. As quite a few already pointed out, nowadays there are so many good ideas that it's the problem of the classical managerial problem of focus and how to keep on the focus in the eyes of your people around. So how about that? A bit of I would say, the area that is there for a couple of years, but digital marketing and sales, what in your opinion will be the main challenge in the future, and what's in it now? Is it just a transformation? Is this something that new generations will be more successful at, or is it something that we need to go through some of the courses again and then redo it? So maybe we start with you, Tilen.
Sure. So I think digital marketing has a few challenges. One of the challenges is that it's just annoying to the average user, and there's no way around it. You watch a video on YouTube and it's interrupted because of an ad. Then you go to read an article and you need to close like four pop-ups just to read the article. And you know, we all know it, and it works still in some ways, but a lot of the companies are now forced to adapt their cookie policies. This is like the policy which allows the company to track you over the internet, because it's just, at some point it was just too much. The companies were able to pinpoint individuals because of data, and it went too far. So a lot of the companies are now reversing this trend, and I think this is going to happen in the next few years as well, even more. Less tracking for companies as we know it today, for example, on the biggest platforms like Facebook, which includes Instagram. So marketers need to adapt, and digital marketing needs to adapt. And one evolution, or like one way which I see, which is also present in NFT space and in crypto space, because it's a highly regulated space, so you're not allowed to use the typical channels. Your aim is not so much to like display ads all over the world on all the platforms, but to build communities. So some way, shape, or form of a community, basically a group of people gathering online and discussing something. So I think I see this maybe as the next evolution for digital marketing, to build communities, and then in those communities you provide some sort of value. Either it's content, it's knowledge, it's social experience, or something similar. So to sum up, I think like the main challenge that the digital marketing has today is that other companies and governments are forcing the companies to adapt their privacy policies, their cookie policies, and the whole tracking, which we're all so used to, and we exploit a lot. And this is gradually changing. And once this is going to change, a lot of the companies will need to reinvent what digital marketing means. But I think it's a good evolution because we want to make internet a bit more pleasant experience.
Okay, we have already the.
I think this was my
back sound, so it's a good thing, right? It's
yeah. I think this was a sign that I'm done with my comment.
Okay, thank you, Tilen. What does the devil say? So Jan, please.
Like Tilen said, digital marketing can be really annoying. So what we are trying to do, especially on TikTok, we have to figure out a way how to, communicate meaningful stories, stories that are in line with traits and communication messages that the brand wants to speak out, and those communication messages has to be aligned with the public that is gonna hear them. So in my opinion, the major challenge in the future of digital marketing and sales will be how to how to fast adapt to let's say new ecosystems or new tools where the communication is possible, and to really understand the audience that is present on that communication channel. Well, in marketing, you always had to do it to adapt your communication on the channel where you're communicating. But as we said before, because of the so fast change and so fast implementation of new channels and new ways where brands can communicate, there is a lot of learning. The learning process for the brands and for the companies is really long, because all of the digital market channels are digital, but actually there is big difference between each one of them. Maybe if we just look at on social media, before communication on Facebook and Instagram could be really similar, but if you compare communication on Instagram and TikTok, it's totally different. You have to do content special for TikTok and special for Instagram. So and how to make great content means you have to understand the communication channel, and you have to understand the public that is on that communication channel. So I think for probably all companies, what they need is a lot of ICT experts. I think ICT experts, they are already in high demand, because companies don't know how to work around major or small minor issues regarding digitalization and digital marketing and sales. So I think we need to do, as a country, or government needs to do a lot to promote ICT experts in the making, and to bring maybe ICT experts from abroad to help all companies and industries to get on track with everything that's happening, and every change that we are definitely going to see a lot of changes, I think, in this year, not even in 5 years. So I think this is the major challenge, to have enough experts who understand all of the new channels that are arriving and all of the new possibilities that are there. And this is definitely time and money consuming.
Well, Jan, thank you for this very valuable and valid input. Talking about the experts and people there, probably Nenad can tell us more, especially because he's working in that area, maybe also with some statistics. One of the statistics that I came across a couple of days ago, because I'm very active also in this business community on other areas, is that Slovenia on average probably needs like 5,000 new ICT people per year, and our education system actually really is able to provide like around 1,000 people. So it's and 1/3 of it probably pretty much works for outside work. So either they move out for Slovenia or they work for the other companies. So it's really a big need for that, and it's a question, of course, where we will find those kind of people. So it's really also about the upskilling and upgrading of current people in some areas. And that was also the question about digital marketing itself. Can be done with the same people with some upscaling, or is it, I don't know, thinking about the robots that for sure they will not do it, right? So maybe Nenad, also your point of view on that, and maybe some thoughts on that, since probably you have some more data on your table than we have. So looking forward to this.
Well, talking about the data and about the ICT experts, these are the data that we have collected. It was just my article published 2 days ago, just about the problem of ICT experts in Slovenia and generally in Europe. And this is one important part of the story of digitalization in any area, in any segment, especially digital transformation, where we need more knowledge and more experience and more understanding what we can do in business and how to change the business. So, as you said, we will need in the following years, comparing the goals that Europe has in general, we would need to have about 5,000 new experts every year. Today, there are about 1,250. This is our analysis that we have made at our association, coming out from the university system, so diplomas from the university system. And there are a share, if you look at statistics from so gymnasiums and other secondary schools, so we can come maybe to a number of 2,000, but we would need 5,000. So we really need to do on all possible areas, short-term and long-term, to grow that, because that is so important. That is an important environment of the ecosystem for digitalization in any segment. So digital marketing, of course, is part of that, how we produce new services and how to understand the tools. And also, well, digital marketing is here and it will continue. We are working and living in a more and more in digital world. So this digital marketing is part of that. With new business models, let's say, there are different threats and different, let's say, not just advantages, but also disadvantages, as mentioned by Tilen and Jan, like those annoying advertisements that we get. But we get those advertisements with the services that are free. We are able usually to buy services, and then we will not get advertisements. But still, there are different choices that we have, which is generally okay. What is the problem, I would say, is the regulation of usage of, let's say, the regulation of privacy or personal data. So GDPR is something that Europe has established, and it is good. It has not been established in other parts of the world. So we have a problem when we use some, let's say, cloud services from the States, because this is not regulated. So we have a problem there. But what Europe is doing here is actually providing new directives to better handle personal data and other data that we use for business, which is good. And any company that would like to work in Europe will need to adapt to that regulation. And I think that's okay. And as we see it, the other parts of the world, even China is looking at that and trying to adapt some of the good experience from, let's say, from GDPR also to China, for example. Looking at businesses, more to businesses, I think there are a lot of opportunities of personalization. So using the data of our customers in a proper way to grow the added value of each service or marketing campaign for our customers or for potential customers in a way that we don't really push hundreds of messages to them, but only those that they are relevant for them. Of course, it's also difficult how to do it. We have experience from let's say politics and politicians, digital marketing, where it provides polarization, and where people that would like to hear something only in some time hear messages that they are even they like to hear anyway. So it's no way for them to hear other messages, other views. So we need to take care of that. In business, it's still a lot of room to improve. Also, for example, in our Chamber of Commerce in Eastern Slovenia, we work with members. We have a lot of data about our members, but we need digital data about that to be able to automate marketing, but not to to do more marketing for them, but actually that they get less marketing, but just that marketing that they like to have and they like to get. So still a lot of opportunities in business for digital marketing.
Okay, thank you, Nenad, on that answer, and I will continue with you on the next question, and quite a general question, especially nowadays, on working from home. So this is something which is a new reality. We have people who dislike this kind of work, and we have people who just love it now and they don't want to come back. We can see it on the big corporate level, going back to the big headquarters or staying in a good old home. So here we can talk about also the public sector, which is another kind of a challenge. And the bottom line for sure is about trust and the motivation of people. So what's your point of view of this working from home, let's say digital nomads, where Slovenia can also represent one of the interesting, I would say, spots in the earth, right? To actually attract some people in global labor markets. Do you see this development widening the scope generally, or is it just for the IT or ICT sector? It was a lot of things said so far, but nevertheless, having all three of you a quick answer on that, it would be very, very welcome.
Well, generally work from home or work from anywhere, let's say, it's not necessarily home. It can be, from other part of the world, is something that is here. Now with COVID, we have actually have been acquainted with that. Everybody, more or less, is here, and it has a lot of advantages, not just advantages, but a lot of advantages that we can use in our future work. I believe there will be some combination of work from anywhere and work at our premises. Because we still like to meet people in person, to discuss, to go for a coffee, to see each other, to understand the movement of people, to really have the discussion on a people level, let's say. We will still need that, and we will not be without that. But let's say, for example, for the ICT sector, many of our members have gone to work from home during the first wave of COVID, and actually more or less never came back to the office. So many of them are still working from home. So this is not something that is just because of COVID, but just during the COVID is there, but it's because of COVID, the way is changing. And one of the positive things of this experience we have now is that many managers need to start to see the management in a different way than before. So let's say in a more modern way of management, that we leave to people to take the responsibility and take so measure at the level of results and activities, not the presence. So the presence is not important. I mean, the disadvantage actually of work from home for many people is that they work more because, okay, they're more flexible, they cook their lunch, it's easy. Maybe you go for running in the afternoon because it's at 5 o'clock, it's already dark. But then when you come back, you work, and it happens you still work at 9 o'clock. So this limit work and personal life is not there as before. Actually, this is not bad if your work is something that you like, that you enjoy, that is actually something that you like, that it is part of your life in a way. And talking about digital nomads, so generally, I believe for all services that are not where physical presence are not necessary, will grow. Like you have now for many years already, you can learn Spanish with somebody that is living in Spanish, or in Argentina or anywhere else. And you just take lessons and you connect, of course, very easy. So, but definitely for digital nomads, so for people from ICT industry, this will be growing faster because these people are more fond of digital tools and the ways how to do it. And in Slovenia, coming back to the problem of number of ICT experts we have and will have, Slovenia can take actually let's say we can say we have a problem because our people work for foreign companies. But we can turn around and say also we have an opportunity to position Slovenia as a digital nomad country because it's a nice country, its quality of life is high. And to position it like this and to bring people here to work from Slovenia, and many of them, I believe, would finally maybe also work for Slovenian companies. And this is something that we would like to provide. Of course, we have a problem of very low taxation of SP, so this
sole entrepreneurship. Yeah.
Yes, sole entrepreneurship. We have a problem with that because it's not proper. But still, we could take that chance, the opportunity for Slovenia to position itself as a digital nomads country. Mm-hmm. Not just for ICT segment, but for different services actually.
Thank you, Nenad, for that. What's your view, Jan, on the digital jumpers?
Yeah, well, Dunking Devils were, traveling all over the world. So it was to work from somewhere else was like totally normal for us, even 5 or 7, 8 years ago. So when the COVID started and we started to work from home, it was just like, okay, so now we work from home, not from US or wherever we were. And I think to enjoy working from home, or it's really necessary to have enough space at home. And this is actually one of the things that, in my opinion, a lot of young Slovenians can't really do so well because of the situation with owning a home or a flat that has enough space for to actually work as effectively from home as you can from the office. So what we are experiencing is that right now we are in the process of building our own new offices, and the younger generation, so the digital nomads, those 20 something guys, who were the ones who are actually pushing us to make new spacious offices where they can create, they can work. So it's not like, of course, we will do, I don't know, 200 something meters, and half of that space will have to be creative space or creative working environment space. So actually the definition of what a working space is really changing fast. And what we're experiencing is that those young digital nomads, they like to work from the office. But at the same time, they like to work from someplace else. So I think in the future, there is going to be even more combination and different options of working abroad, working from home, working from one office, working from the other part of the office. And the biggest challenge to make everything work is going to be to pick the right communication tools and to offer proper motivation for everybody. So if somebody is working from the office and the other one is working from home, they are motivated the same to work the same amount with the same effort, or at least similar. It never can be the same effort, of course. Yeah, I think I'm not sure if I think the everybody is going to be using like a combination of everything. So maybe not now, and now it's still for some people it's still new to work from home. So it's new, it's cool, it's great. But I think in the future it's going to be a combination of everything. So for companies, this means quite some extra logistics problems, because you have to have space for your employee to work in the office and to try to help him to have also space to work from home, because this is what young people really want. And I think it's not going to be young people in a few years, it's going to be old people, and we will all want that. So yeah, I think we have a lot of challenges ahead of us in terms of how the working environment is going to look in the future.
Okay, thank you, Jan. How about you, Tilen? So you said or pointed out a couple of minutes before that you met a mate in Canada who was working from wandering about already, but full of Bitcoin. So that's a new reality. Huh? What's your point of view on that?
So yeah, at that time it was a bit weird. This was in 2013. So digital nomad. We didn't really understand what it was. I think. And we went through this with Bitpanda. So I had to move to Vienna to be able to work there. This was 2 years ago. But now the company adapted, and I think it's how they chose to adapt is they were looking at other companies, right? So they were always looking what other companies are doing, because they need to be competitive in like the benefits as well. So the current situation is like a hybrid mode. I think both Nenad and Jan also mentioned this. There's probably going to be a combination of this, and I think this is super important to give your employees, if their work can be done digitally, that they can do it. So the option to go somewhere should be there, but in my opinion, you should also like encourage people to come to the office, to build culture and everything. But if the company doesn't even offer an option to be remote, this is a big turn off, let's say, for a lot of people. And the other thing I wanted to mention is, and this goes out to all the Slovenian companies with ICT people, make sure that you keep them happy, because all of a sudden they can work from Slovenia, from every little country or village, even for companies from the US, from UK, from Norway, to Switzerland, it doesn't matter. And they offer lots of, they offer high salaries, of course, benefits, etc. So this is also this phenomenon that happened called the Great Resignation, where the highest number of resignations in like the modern history, basically. And this happened because of the remote work. All of a sudden, people from every parts of the world could work for companies who never wanted remote work, but now they had to adapt. So that's happening a lot. People living in Slovenia working for companies elsewhere. So that's something to think about.
Great input, Tilen. Thank you for bringing that up. And this is something that we need to keep in mind also for the last question. And you will have only 1 minute because we are finalizing the session. But before I point out that question, any questions so far now from the participants? Because we have really good guests, and now it's the time to pop up the question, right? Because we have the experts in the area. I mean, the experts also with a long track of expertise. If you have, please just raise a hand or just unmute yourself and ask the question. It's a bit Slovenian way, huh? Not everybody together, it's one by one. I joke aside.
I have a question.
Yeah, great, Janis, please.
Probably there was talk about it, but I'm interested in Web 3.0, what it is actually, how are we doing, what are we doing about it in Slovenia?
Thank you, Janez. Who would like to start? Maybe Tilen, if it's okay with you, or whoever would like to add up.
I can just maybe briefly, I'm not super involved in what's happening in Web3 in Slovenia, but I follow the general topic like personally and professionally. So maybe the question was also, I think, what is Web3? Should we go into that?
Maybe just comment short.
Yeah.
What's going
So how I see it really briefly is, so there was Web 1.0. This is where something was displayed on the internet. You could access it and you could see what's there. The Web 2.0 was when you got the ability to interact with that content. You could create content, you know, all the Facebooks, blogs, websites, etc. Like it became interactive. And the Web 3.0 is where all of a sudden you could own parts of the internet, or like you could label those parts of the internet and actually own them. And this is one of the ideas for Web3. That's at least how I see it. But I cannot comment on Slovenia and Web3.
Any comment from Jan or Nenad? No? Thank you. Hopefully that answers the question. And a lot of the things on the internet, but nevertheless, it's again a future in the making, right? And it's very much connected also with the blockchain technology. Last question, and we have only 3 more minutes, so 1 minute per each. Of course, it's a normal question. It was partially already covered by the ministers, and partially you mentioned it also. And I'll start with you, Nenad. So for sure, what's the proper role of the government, our government or governments in the world in this area? Maybe just 2 or 3 most important things in short, 1 minute each, please.
Thank you, Tomaž. Yeah, I believe that the governments, so country governments, the European Union level as well, are there for 2 things. One is to regulate that the digital development goes on in a proper, humane way, so that doesn't change our lives in a way we don't like. And I believe Europe is good in that way, and providing and developing now many of the directives in that respect. And the other is that if we take a look on digitalization globally and the positioning of Europe and United States and China, the main 3 players, actually China and United States, they invest much more in digitalization, especially if you look at the high level of that, for example, artificial intelligence. So the role then of European Union would be to support digitalization in this respect, to invest much more, to support companies much more, to grow the competencies much more than we did before. And we have now actually the Digital Europe program that is added in the new financial perspective that supports that, and we have RRF funds that support digitalization as well, and green economy. So these are, so we all believe, I think we all believe that Europe should play an important role globally as well. So we need to support that. And that's where the role is as well important.
Thank you, Nenad. Jan, your point of view on that?
Yeah, sure. The government and EU has to do a lot, you know, to make digitalization and digital transformation accessible to all of the players, to all of the different fields, and to do it as fast as possible in terms of money support and grants, and as fast as possible in terms of businesses understanding how much they need digitalization in the future if they want to actually survive. It's not like the government is not doing anything, but I think even the COVID showed us that businesses were not at all ready for the digitalization and digital transformation, and maybe some of them understood that it is necessary and it's really important to do it as fast as possible. But I think this is the main thing that the government has to do. EU has to give us enough funds, and government has to teach everybody that digitalization is the way.
Take advantage. Thank you, Jan. I started with you, Tilen, and I'm finishing with you. So the last talks on that before we close the session.
I agree with with Jan what he said about what needs to happen. One thing I would add is like speed is super important and understanding is super important, especially for blockchain, because there were many things proposed which just didn't make sense. So understanding is important, and then we're all going to be happy about regulation and tax, but it needs to be well thought through.
Okay, thank you, Tilen, on that. So thank you very much to all three of you, Tilen, Nenad, and Jan. With this, we close the panel of the digital entrepreneurship. Really, thank you to all of you, also the participants that were listening to this. And I believe we are now smarter than we were before. At least we know that we sold another very good Slovenian unicorn. It still stays a bit in Slovenian hands, no problem. In the meantime, some skiers became the World Cup winners for this year, and that just means that we already know it. It's not tomorrow from the newspapers, so we are here and living maybe faster, but also more qualitative. So with this, I will close the session, and I believe we have half an hour of the break before the main session continues at 2 o'clock. Thank you very much, and looking forward to see you soon also analogically, so really in person. Thank you.
Thank you.